just starting part 2. Finally getting to like settle in with the characters. Each chapter focuses on a different person. It like takes some time for you to get to know each one. Nick and Rachel are the main storyline, but I'm kind of more intrigued with Astrid's story. I grew up watching a lot of Asian drama, so I'm all about the drama with like cheating scandal. And Rachel is just about to, like, she's just finding out about how rich Nick is. So it's interesting to see. I wonder if Nick's background will change the relationship. If it were me, I would expect an adjustment period. I feel like everything that's a day-to-day in a relationship, going out to see a movie, like where to eat, how do we get there, like that type of thing would be totally changed. Instead of thinking twice about spending money on Uber, we would just get our family chauffeur to do it, that type of thing. So I suspect there will be some drama, or else I don't really know where this book is going, but I'll see. I finished part 2 of Crazy Rich Asians. I kind of found Rachel and Nick boring. Like, I got the sense that the author wanted to write them as, at least Rachel, like a down-to-earth, relatable person, but there wasn't much flair to her, and it seemed like it was more her circumstances and dating Nick that puts her into an interesting story. I think the same thing with Nick. He seems like a gentleman, he has this incredible family history and childhood and background, and he's on paper written to be kind of perfect, but I wish there was a little more to him other than being great. I didn't even know that there were people who were this level of rich, and I recently watched a YouTube video that my friend Andrew sent me about like the real Crazy Rich Asians and what they do at Fashion Week, and they have private fashion shows, and they have these like couture fittings, and they buy these pieces that are like literally a piece of history because there are unique pieces that will never be made again. To see that there are people like this wealthy and to learn about their way of life, I feel like I have an insider scoop that I will never ever see again, which is really, really cool. Jamaican coffee. Yeah, that was really good. Man just said bee's knees. How is that sexy? Oh. So I finished the book, which works out perfect because I have plans with my homies to watch it today. Look, we collected friends. Okay.
I really wish I was coming to this movie, and I'm really sad that I won't be, but I'll watch it double next time.
And I can't wait.
Okay, great. Bye. Okay, bye.
We'll edit up.
I am doing the review between the movie and the book, Crazy Rich Asians. So I think the biggest thing that made me really, really enjoy the movie is the fact that the female characters were so much cooler. So in the reading vlog, I talk about how I think Rachel's kind of boring, and I noticed, especially after watching the movie, kind of hindsight is 2020, that she didn't wait till maybe like the last third of the book to stand up to Nick and tell her about how she was feeling. I get that she was like, oh, I'm in Asia with my boyfriend, and I'm feeling all types of ways, and how it's weird that his family is so rich all of a sudden, but I'll just keep rolling along with it. I think I would have said something much earlier. I don't know, that could just be me. But versus in the movie, they're sitting in the couches of like the hotel lobby or something like that, and that's quite early on in the movie, and she's already telling Nick, like, this is not okay that I didn't know about all of this. You didn't tell me this is a whole new world. I wasn't prepared for all of this. Like, that whole entire fight scene takes place so much later in the book than it does in the movie, and I think the sequence that happened in the movie made so much more sense to me, and also made me like Rachel more. And overall, Rachel in the movie is, like, extremely smart, intelligent, yet, like, cool, funny. She is always speaking her mind with grace and sticking up for herself when needed. So when they go away to Araminta's bachelorette party, and she walks in, and then there's that fish, which aside, in the book they write it, I thought, was as like a fish in a purse, but in the movie it's like a big trout all across the pillows in bed. So the size of the fish kind of startled me. But anyway, she is the one to say, don't call security, that'll only give them what they want. And that to me is the Rachel I wanted from the books, right? The one who is like calm, cool, collected, and won't back down, versus the version in the book she was actually with the pediatric surgeon, who is, I think, Araminta's cousin. Rachel goes up to this pediatric surgeon, like in shock after she finds the fish in her room, freaking out and wanting things to be done, but it has to be the surgeon who says, well, what if we don't call security? So it wasn't Rachel's decision in the book, it was this random transient character that never shows up again. Speaking of female characters, Astrid is my personal favorite. They didn't build into her and Michael's marriage issues as much as the book went into, but in the book they actually talk about how the whole affair that Michael had was just a setup, because he thought that way Astrid would leave him for sure. It was kind of like a way out for everybody. But in the movie, they just left it as is, as if he was truly having an affair. Also, another difference, text in the book is actually like in caps, "Miss you inside," but spelled without the first I, so like NSIDE, inside me. Whereas in the movie, it was something much more like, I don't know, something like "miss you sleeping next to me" or something like that, much more PG. Okay, so back to the relationship between Astrid and Michael in the movie. Astrid is gold. That one line that she delivers to Michael being like, I can't make you into a man, I can't make you into something you're not. And shout out to Shneha and Sallya and their review of Crazy Rich Asians when they talk about this too. I think Shneha like killed the line perfectly word for word. So please watch the movie or watch that vlog for reference. And in the book, she was kind of like sulking around, so emotional, literally like clinging onto Michael, begging him not to leave, being like, we can still work this out, I will do whatever, what are you talking about, it's okay, you're cheating. Everyone in this crazy rich Asian world who are men has affairs, it's totally normal, I'll do whatever, please just don't take this family away from me. Which I get. It must be devastating. I can't imagine. In the movie, when Astrid confronts Michael, which I think was in the car ride scene on the way to Colin Koo's wedding, she's not like an emotional wreck. She is still calm, cool, collected, obviously upset, but I'm like, yes, stay articulate in those times. And the crux of why the marriage between Michael and Astrid is failing is still the same, the fact that he feels uncomfortable in Astrid's world and the stage that he has to be put on as Astrid's husband, as rather than being, Michael and someone who is not from their caliber or class of people, but somehow just married well. The marriage wasn't working out for many reasons, and in the book, she fails to realize that, really. One of the other differences while we're talking about this storyline is that Charlie is the one who is Astrid's ex-husband. Doesn't really get introduced in the movie at all, but I think will be Harry Shum Jr. is going to play him for the upcoming movies, because we see that little bit of him sitting at the bar at the end. But he actually is quite a big character and is quite instrumental to Astrid's storyline. So for those of you who didn't read the book, Charlie and Astrid had like a epic love story when they were just getting out of high school and like very young adults in their early 20s, got engaged, but Astrid dumped him and like threw a drink on him. Or Charlie gave Astrid what Michael couldn't, essentially. Like he indulged her in shopping sprees and would like buy out a store. After they separate and Astrid marries Michael, Charlie also starts his own family, but him and his wife are no longer together. When Astrid's broken, she like runs into Charlie in the book, and Charlie is the one who picks her up from being rattled about Michael, gets her around Hong Kong to help Astrid find Charlie. And another thing that I preferred in the movie over the book is the ending. There's multiple parts to this. One is that Rachel, again, in her cool movie version self, that mahjong scene, Rachel picked up her own winning card, and she could have won, but for the sake of Nick, she gives it up for Eleanor Young to take the winning card. It's like this whole metaphor of how I guess Nick is this winning mahjong tile, but Rachel chooses to give him up because she wouldn't make him choose between herself and his family. And despite the family treating her like crap, she still is willing to see the bigger picture and see Nick's difficult position and say no to the proposal the very first time around. The moment when she says, "You're only getting your son back because of me," like, yes, it's for her own self-satisfaction, but I was like, girl, you do that. You tell them what's up. And to top it all off, Rachel walks off with her mom, and like the look between Rachel's mom and Eleanor when she looks back and it's like, how dare you hurt my daughter like this? But look, I raised such a strong young lady. Look at how well she is handling the situation, and we are still the winners at the end of the day. That scene, I was like, yes, like no words need to be said, but you can tell like that's what was running through Rachel's mom's mind. From mother to mother, this is how I raise my children, to have respect for other people. Like, and look at the position you put your child in. Speaking of which, the relationship between Rachel and her mom is so great. I think it was already great in the book to begin with. It's a little more of the westernized relationship that people tend to like daughters tend to have with their moms being best friends. It's more stereotypical that wouldn't happen in an Asian culture. So in the book, actually, Rachel calls up the mom when she finds out about her dad possibly being a prisoner, being like, how could you not tell me the truth? Jumps the gun, starts blaming her mom, like, how could you lie to me for all these years? I don't even know who I am. So that whole thing was another reason I was like, Rachel, you need to hear your mama out. She single-handedly raised you, and the mom even on the phone even tried to say things like, daughter, you don't know the full story, like I was being hurt when I was with your father, I need to talk to you. But Rachel wouldn't even give her the time of day. She is supposed to be your best friend, and this is how you're gonna treat her? You're not even gonna listen to her? You're just gonna hang up on her? But in the movie they don't do that. Right when Nick flies Rachel's mom to Pakelin's house and she shows up, like Rachel rushing to the mom and being like, thank God you are the comfort I need to see. That relationship was beautiful. And I love that they had that built into the movie and cut out kind of the bratty, obnoxious Rachel in the book. I am so sorry for the Rachel fans out there. And that plane scene, that wasn't part of the book. I literally remember reading in the book, Rachel just like is still so rattled with Nick. And I'm like, I only have very few pages left at the end. Maybe they're not going to make up. Maybe Rachel and Nick don't get back together and I have to wait till the second book. And then the book kind of sloppily just ties it all up. So all Nick had to do was fly to the States and bring Rachel's mom back to Singapore to see her. And the whole idea is he did this without her knowing, and that was the big move he does. And you know, I get it, it's a long plane ride, but have you seen the planes they fly on? Like, I feel like it wasn't that big of a deal for Nick. Like, unless you're telling me he was flying economy, even then I'm like, all he had to do was get on a plane. And I know the plane he flew on was probably bougie, and he probably like played basketball, slept nice, got to work out, ate some nice food. After the entire book was about this huge like cultural difference, family not accepting Rachel, and all he had to do was take 2 plane rides. In the movie though, he also does that like epic plane chasing down the aisle scene, and he's, you know, so lovable, like helping people move their luggage up and all that type of thing. So he does all that and this public display of affection in front of all these people and proposes. And that was the type of romantic comedy formula ending that I wanted. And perhaps I was hoping for a rom-com ending in a book that wasn't written as a movie rom-com, but the ending was much, much more satisfying in the movie than it was in the book. One thing that I did think that the book did better, and is probably one of my favorite things about the book, is how well he described the different parts of Asia. And we actually didn't get to travel as much as we did in the book. I remember there was that one like scene at the beginning of the movie where they have the map and then they show like flying from New York all the way to Singapore. And I thought that map would show up again to help us keep track of like where we would be traveling throughout Asia. But that never really happened. That just showed up once. It's actually, I felt like I got a better experience of it from his words than I did from the movie. And Andrew, in case he doesn't get to show up in this, said this like quite elegantly. It's as if the entire budget of the movie was less than that of Araminta's wedding in the book. Kevin Kwan does such a great job of introducing to the readers and describing these luxuries that the crazy rich Asians have and their world, it was almost impossible for the movie to live up to that. Like, I think the whole movie still was very aesthetically pleasing with all of, with all the colors and all the detail. In the book, it just seemed more grand. As an overall opinion, I liked the book. And the reason I liked it wasn't because of its plot. Like, I learned a lot from the book, actually, about these people and about the different countries in Asia. But the plot itself was like a situation that I'd seen quite a bit in Asian dramas already. But it was still a great, light beach read. It was perfect for what I wanted at the time of my vacation. I didn't realize how much I was missing seeing Asian people in just like a typical regular romantic comedy until I had seen it literally on screen. You like talk about how, I don't see this, but once you actually see it made into a film on a big screen, it really hits you. And I will definitely read the next 2 books that I already bought. Okay, sorry this is so long, but I think I'm done. Bye!